weapons that would be coming in the future, and therefore we should limit what people should get. This is the problem with this guy's article. And listen, I encourage you to read the stupidity from this communication professional in Washington, and he's a former staffer for the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. He's a press flack. I don't even know, he doesn't even have the credentials, I think, to talk about this issue. He's not a constitutional scholar. He's not an attorney in any field. He's a communications person. Now, let's tear apart this argument. First, the Second Amendment says, the right to bear, keep and bear arms, plural. Doesn't say how many, but it clearly meant that you can have more than one. Secondly, as he points out, there is a history of, for instance, newly freed slaves using guns to defend themselves, just like people have a right to defend themselves today, either from home invasion or from a tyrannical government who may be trying to take away their rights. Mr. Pennington may be part of that government one day, who knows? But it seems like he is given a knee-jerk reaction to this Las Vegas shooting, where the guy who did the shooting, Stephen Paddock, this clearly deranged human being, had 33 guns in his room. So, again, knee-jerk reaction. Then he's talking about, why shouldn't we require someone who wants to own more than 2 firearms and who isn't legally in the gun business to file an application? Send some paperwork to the ATF and submit fingerprints of the photos and send in a fee. Well, let's do the same thing. How about if you want to write more than 2 articles a month? You have to register with the government. You have to send in an application with a fee. You can't do that with a fundamental right, folks. And if you start doing that with a fundamental right, what else can the government ration off of you? Can they start rationing food? Can they start, rationing the amount of money? Because, to earn a living is a privilege. Can they ration how far you can drive in your car? Because that's not a right. That's a privilege. Can they ration, can they say that you can't have a driver's license over 65? Because that's a privilege, not a right. If you start regulating fundamental rights like this, then you know what? The government then has carte blanche to regulate anything in your life. And frankly, that's a scary thought to me. He goes on to say you undergo criminal, domestic violence checks, mental health background checks. Come on. The federal government should not be doing this. States regulate gun permits and gun licenses. While I argue there should be full faith and credit, for each license and interstate travel, maybe that's where the federal government can come in. A federal gun registry is not the answer. And making sure that you only have 2 guns or, paying to earn, to get more because it's a fundamental right for you to exercise. This is no way to run America. This article, is ridiculous. And then he starts doing exceptions of why you can own a gun. Maybe you're a rancher in Wyoming, he says, and need to supply staff members with guns. Under a 2 guns per person law, would anyone be prevented from owning a firearm? No, he says. Whether or not you agree with the idea is plainly correct that the Second Amendment, neither the Second Amendment nor any part of the Constitution stands in the way of policy proposals like this one. Yes, it does. Okay, come on. This is an idea that cannot be pursued because it would be unconstitutional. Constitution talks about promoting the general welfare. Constitution talks about inalienable rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. This talks about these concepts. Clearly, gun ownership falls within them. Come on now. And then, of course, he uses the tried and true argument, neither the Founding Fathers nor their post-Civil War successor has much to say to us in our modern campaign against gun violence. Yes, they do. They say a whole lot. They say that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And then we have court decisions which limit it reasonably when we talk about unusual firearms, machine guns, automatic weapons. There are ways you can do this and not disturb gun ownership by law-abiding citizens. Law-abiding citizens are not going around shooting and killing people. They're not the ones. People who go around shooting and killing people are criminals, are repeat offenders of violent crimes, are drug dealers. These are, NRA members are not shooting up people. We don't ban Rachel Maddow's show because the person who shot Steve Scalise was a fan of Rachel Maddow. That's not the solution. The solution is we need to become more responsible in identifying mental health problems in our society. That's a national initiative I think we can all agree upon. That there needs to be better diagnosis and follow-up care and aftercare of these people. There needs to be more resources and support devoted to identification and of diagnosing and treating mental illness, and not just discount it and throw it in the closet where, because we're ashamed of it. We need to take the stigma of shame out of mental illness and realize that people are sick clinically, and it's not an embarrassment or a point of honor for your family. We can regulate straw buying and have, people who are 18, 19-year-olds who are buying multiple guns from a gun shop, see if there's any straw buying there. And if we find out that there was straw buying and a gun shop knew or should have known about it, you can have them be held accountable for it. There are solutions out there we can have. We can have a discussion about bump stocks. Even the NRA said that. I don't know why the Obama administration chose not to regulate bump stocks as a matter of policy in the administration. There are things that can be done that don't infringe upon law-abiding gun owners. We don't need to go down that road. And I guess that's going to qualify as my final thought and the last topic of the show here this evening. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. I want to thank Harvey Weinstein and Colin Kaepernick for being such idiots so I can devote so much time to it. I guess as a final thought, I'm going to say, you know what? This is the time of year where we should start getting ready. It's the calm of the storm, really, in politics. People are going to start ratcheting up local elections, and, I have a couple of local races here. Here's something I say a lot on the show, and I haven't said it in a while, but I'm going to say it again. Get involved local. Whether it's a town legislative race or, state assembly, state senate, things like that. Get involved in your own community. Take control of your own life, your own community. You'll be so happy that you did, because you'll not only be advanced citizenry is speaking up, calling things right and wrong, giving a voice to politicians who, without such voice, would just do whatever they want to do. I don't care what party you support. If you're listening to the show, you're probably, right-leaning. But whatever party you support, get out there, get your hands dirty in the politics, and see what this is all about. It's a contact sport. It's not for the timid. But get out there, get your voice heard, and start looking at the candidates for your local races, wherever they may be, and start thinking about what you want to see in your leadership. Because that's the bench that's going to grow and flourish to make it the federal government, but only if you let them. Once again, thanks for listening to the show. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. Thank you. God bless. It's time to shut it down. We are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A rock radio production. Back in 7 days. Out.